After watching this video, you're going to learn exactly how I got 10K followers last month and then again this month, back to back 10K months. I'm going to walk through exactly what's working now and give you an entire Excel download. You will have the spreadsheet, which is my exact system I used, because if you just guess, you'll never get there. You need to measure. So there's a bunch of insights and things that people never really talk about that actually get you there. And I'm just going to give it to you for free. And I'm going to make this video as condensed and as impactful and useful as possible. So stick with me here. Okay. So let me show you what not to do. I was stuck at what I call a sub 3K jail because I was all over the place. I was posting, look, 300 posts, all just nice, fancy aesthetic stuff, but doesn't get people anywhere. People don't want that. They can get aesthetic things anywhere. So if you're still posting trendy stuff just because it's trendy and it looks nice, it's not going to lead to growth. I was stuck here for 3 years, more honestly. And then it started to change a little bit. I was still stuck at the same number of followers, but I started to clean up my profile, right? Because the biggest thing you want to do here, the biggest needle movers in sub 3K jail to get out of that jail, to break free, is to start creating and batching. When you batch create, you create a bunch at once, right? And then you can start scheduling posts. But the biggest thing about batch creation is that you actually get faster at it. You get better at speaking, you get better at editing, you get better at noticing what wins, right? Around 100 reels is once you start finding your voice, all right? So you need to get to those 100 reels as soon as possible. And then the single take shots, you get better at, actually filming things so you don't have to edit it so much in the back end later. You get better at filming. So that only happens when you start posting a lot. And then profile cleanup. What do I mean by profile cleanup? Notice how I dramatically reduced the number of posts I had, right? What I like to do and what I notice is I like the main grid to be posts, static posts, and then post reels like an absolute psycho, right? And you can host those here so they're not in your main grid, right? Something else that changed is I started using the broadcast channel. The broadcast channel is a great place to centralize your super fans, and you can nurture them and give them free stuff, right? For instance, this video, I'm going to link this video, this YouTube video, to my broadcast channel. And then I'll show you how to nurture leads if you're also a business owner, how to do that there. But also, once you start getting better at this, you're going to notice this username that I was using for over a few years. I thought it looked cool. It's half of my last name, half of my first name. People don't know what that is. People were like, oh, are you a race car driver? Rascal? Like, okay. Just because it makes sense to you doesn't mean it makes sense to everyone else. And that's huge. Sometimes you need to take an ego hit and say, okay, even though this looks cool to me or is special to me, whatever, momentillos, people don't know what that is. I had to do a dramatic cleanup here to make sure it makes sense to the average person, right? And that's a good thing. So what changed? Getting to your first 10K, these are your biggest needle movers here, okay? You want to understand your insights. Your insights look like this, your analytics, right? When you go to a single post, it looks like this. But the biggest thing, and this is new, Instagram started doing like a monthly analytical screenshot. So you can see how many views you got, how many of those views on your profile are not from followers. But this is the most useful thing to me. You can figure out your cadence. In December, which is when I got my first 10K, I had a cadence of 62 reels and 91 stories. What does that mean? It's about 2 reels a day and 3 stories a day, okay? That is my new floor. If I want to maintain the same growth, I have to control the inputs. You can't really control the outputs, the followers, the link clicks, all that stuff, but you can control your inputs. And your main input is how many times you post. Another super helpful thing that people don't really utilize is if you go to your insights, you can organize all your content from the past 3 months, past month, past 2 years by certain metrics. And the most useful one is your followers. So you post all your content and filter it by how many followers that those pieces of content gave you. You'll get this. This one reel got 4 million views and it gave me 10K followers, right? And then this one, the next up, got me 2K followers. This one got me 600. What do you notice about these? And this one, and this one, and this one. It's POV, like hand guide type shots. I didn't know that. As crazy as it sounds now, I didn't know people loved seeing this. So now that I can see this, I know to double down on this type of content. And we're going to talk about your content pillars here and how to identify them. But this is literally POV hand guide. That's what I call it. This is an entire content pillar now. And I know to double down on this. Also, talking heads. also B-roll. But I didn't know or identify this until I started looking at my insights. So you have to do that, okay? And the time you post, this is more helpful for when you're, batch creating and scheduling. You should have at least like 3 reels ready to go every day. And that only happens when you batch create, and you can schedule them somewhat in the peak, but this is not really that important. Okay. So reading your insights is huge. Identifying your content pillars. Your dream 10. What is your dream 10? These are the 10, or 25 is better, but at least start with 10 creators in your niche that you want to be similar to or post similar content to. And you're going to engage with them. You're going to write to them. You're going to engage with their stories. You're going to talk to them. You're going to give them a lot of value. If they ask a question, answer it in their comments. In their own comment section, there's going to be people like fighting or whatever. Give your 2 cents, do that stuff, right? So that your name becomes familiar to them. And then you can exchange numbers and you can potentially collaborate with them later on. And then branch batch. What do I mean by this? If you have a winning piece of content, like for instance, this 4 million view one, that was a breakdown of symbolism, of Masonic symbolism in a city. So I started creating similar content, which is symbol breakdown of a biblical sort. So like biblical symbolism. And I kept breaking down things in the city with my hand, whatever. So those are like tangents of that main branch. So if you start doing this, these are going to be your biggest needle movers because you'll find your voice. So what happened? I posted that one video and I woke up in the morning at 8 o'clock with 4,000 followers, right? Later that evening, same day, I have 2,000 followers come in. I'm like, all right, this is something winning. And so I immediately doubled down and I posted another talking hand video. 3 days later, I have finally reached 10K followers from doing just that. These needle mover things right here. I'm not even kidding. You just do those things, you double down. I reached 10K followers, right? And anyone can reach 10K followers with a viral post. I get it. But I did it again this month, right? Doing this system, which I'm going to give to you, right? But I just want to show you how I got to that first 10K. And again, look at this broadcast channel. I started emphasizing that a lot more, and I'll show you why that's important in a second. Okay. Now, this stage, your second 10K, this is how you break through and get that. You want to focus on doubling down on your top performers and then reposting your top performers. A lot of us, unfortunately, have an ego where we think that people must have surely seen what we posted, right? Think about it this way. If you have a winning piece of content that people clearly like, how selfish is it to just sit on it and just expect people to like scroll on your page and like find it for themselves? You got to post that thing over and over and over again, right? That is a surefire way to get more followers, to get more engagement, because you know people like it, right? You'll notice everyone. If all these huge creators repost their top performers, why can't you, right? So you got to repost them. You have to. And then collaborate with others and get market feedback. Market feedback is your best friend. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to use your stories for that in a second. Story strategy, comment strategy, reel strategy. But it is better to just ask your audience what they want to see. So for instance, I had a witchcraft video go semi-viral, but it only happened because I asked in a story, I was like, hey, I'm at a witchcraft market right now. Do you guys want to see a video on this? Do you guys want me to make a video on this, witchcraft scene here? And I got so many comments to the story saying, yes, please, please, please. Like, we want to see that. We want to see that. And so I already knew that I was going to have a winner because I already asked, right? And so people just gave me the answer. So use your stories in that way and get market feedback. And then the biggest thing of all these things, the biggest thing that got me to 20K is using this content planner spreadsheet, which I'm going to give to you. It's exactly this. That way you can't guess. I have formulas in here that just gives you strike throughs. It's really nice and pretty, and it's going to be your content engine. I'm going to give this to you for free. It's going to be in the description of the video. But in the meantime, I also want to show you that I got to 10K on TikTok as well. It was a much easier to get to 10K on TikTok. I actually got to 10K on TikTok first. You'll notice that I started the year off with 200 followers, just posting random stuff. And then that exact same winning video, I got 3-ish million here on TikTok first in May. And so I knew this was a winner, and I just kept posting similar things. And then eventually in October, I got to 10K. And then I took that winner, this guy here, the 1.5 at that point, And I posted on Instagram, and that's why it blew up, right? Because I knew it was a winner. So this is me today. I have 13,000 here. I have a strike on my account. And this is the way I view it. TikTok is a great place to post volume, see what works. And then you want to take the winners from there and post those on Instagram, right? That's the way I like to view it. Now, let's talk about your content engine, how this works. In this same way, you're going to collect the winners and top performers. You're going to create folders. The way I suggest you do it is you create it by subject. So I have a folder for religion, a philosophy folder, and videos I want to react to, like Stitch with, right? These are the main folders I use, and I constantly fill them up. And then I go to my favorite editor. I use InShot, but you can use CapCut, whatever. And then you populate your content planner. I'm going to walk you through this step by step in a second, but that's basically what your content engine is going to look like. And the way to populate this real quick is you'll notice that all these reels, all these TikToks, they have 1 million views minimum, right? If it doesn't have 1 million views, it's not worth your time, okay? Let's just get that out that way. Now, Instagram has the same feature TikTok has, which if you go to the Reels tab, you can filter by most viewed to least viewed. If you were to go on my profile, I would only want you to look at these 4, maybe this one, but these are the 1 million+ views, and these are the surefire winners. So you want to take those, post them here, and I'll walk you through that in a second. But let's talk strategy. Okay, how to use your stories. First things first, you want to let them expire. Do not spam your stories. Like those people with like 5 or more stories, you are telling people, you're communicating people, hey, I am a yapper and my stories mean nothing, right? You want to let them expire, and you want people to like hunger for them. Also, for some reason, the algorithm will push them out more if you let them expire. So do that. Don't spam. And don't repost content. It is not 2020 anymore. If you post something on your reels, don't immediately post it on your stories, right? It communicates to people that like, oh, this person's stories aren't worth watching because they just posted. I already saw that they posted. I don't want to see their post again. So don't do that. You want your stories to be unique. They can't find that content anywhere else, only on your stories. And then give. Use your stories as a place to give free downloads, free jokes, free anything. Like make people feel like they just ate something for free, right? And then maybe ask, right? Don't constantly use your stories as a place to ask for their email or any of that stuff. Don't abuse it in that way, right? And then the key point here is to use your stories as a FaceTime a friend, right? You want people to feel like it's a Snapchat or like a text exchange where you're saying borderline schizophrenic things. People know that when they go on my stories, I'm most likely going to say something crazy. Why? Because I feel like I'm talking to my friends. And that's the vibe you want. You want people to feel personable and relatable to your stories, right? It's like they're looking at the world through your eyes, right? So there's a lot of POV type stuff. Also in stories, people are going to mention your content and it's going to show up like this. Hey, people mentioned your content so many times. Go into those posts on their stories and engage with their stories. Leave a fire emoji, clap emoji, comment, like engage with them because these are the people who are most likely to keep doing that, right? And if they know or expect you to engage with their stories, they're going to do it more often. And then you are going to cross-pollinate audiences, right? Because they're going to be so used to seeing your name and your face. So incentivize behavior you want by rewarding it, right? So engage with that stuff. Now, this is how you get engagement using comments, comment strategy. Always reply back. There is no sound reason to just ignore a comment, especially a good one. Always reply back and always reply to the trolls. What I like to do is I like to react to a comment like with a second reel and use that comment as the sticker. So you can click on the mean comment, the troll comment, and it goes to that prior reel. I love doing that. So a troll leaves a nasty comment and suddenly I use their comment for my content. It pisses them off, but it makes me happy. Always use their name. It's a old trick, but the most beautiful sound in the world to people is their own name. So use their name. So let me give you an example. Username, come down here. This person didn't really understand and clearly didn't understand the video. So I just called him out. I was like, Tony, do you know the difference? And people liked it because it was a blatant call out, blatant misunderstanding on their end. So You'll also notice that when you comment people's names, people expect like some sort of fight or some sort of like altercation. So you just gave them ammunition and then they'll just fight for you. So you get a lot of replies here. Same thing on this side. So it's a super easy way to drive engagement. It's just using people's names, right? Also, troll maxing. I have to be a little bit careful here because I genuinely can be a bit mean sometimes. So when you troll, you want to be a little bit more cautious. You don't want to drive people away and people think that you're an absolute, jerk. But people will be trolls, and trolls give you the best engagement possible. So just clap back. So let me give you an example of this. This person was being a bit nasty towards Catholics, so I just snapped back and I gave a little line here. You simply don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. And drove a lot of engagement. She really didn't like that and just, fed my algorithm. So I'm happy with it. This person as well, I was a bit nasty back, but it is what it is. It's the internet, but I would weaponize this. Right now, people love when you're a bit, snappy. So don't abuse it too much, but this is great, right? This is the internet. And then here, let them fight. I like to post controversial content, controversial topics, and you'll notice that people will invest a huge amount of their day to comment large comments. And you kind of want to incentivize this and you kind of want to instigate. So I will just leave like short questions. I'm like, oh, you can't really believe it, or bro really thinks this, or whatever. And like just little like paper cuts, and people will just continue the conversation for you. So you just do that and people will, just feed the algorithm for you. So let them fight on your behalf. Cunningham's Law. Okay, this is a bit nasty, but it's real. People with a huge intellectual, insecurity can't help themselves. They will correct you. What do I mean? Cunningham's Law states that the best way to get the right answer on the internet is not to ask a question, it's to post the wrong answer. What I like to do is to purposely misspell things and purposely mispronounce things. Why? Because it drives insane engagement. So there was a video where, the royal, scepter was in one person's hand and statue, and I was like, all right, that's the royal scepter. But I called it the scepter, like a hard K. Scepter. And people, you'll watch this, people couldn't help themselves, right? So they commented here, scepter, haha. But they just fed me comments to a video I didn't think was going to be that popular. So I just kind of used a little bit of Cunningham's Law, and people just fed the algorithm for you. It's the greatest. So don't abuse it too much, because then people will think, oh, this person can't pronunciate anything or that stuff. So it's kind of like a helpful tool, but don't abuse it. And then finally, be polarizing. When you're polarizing, when you stand up for something, you're going to cast a shadow, and people are going to either love you or hate you. The worst thing to be is to have indifference. You don't want people to be indifferent when they come across your content. You want your name to mean something. So stand up for something, be slightly schizophrenic. So this person posted this. It's about the Spanish Empire. I liked it, but I also like doubled down and I started, saying a bit more controversial stuff here. It also shows your knowledge base, right? It shows you that you know stuff, that you know ball. And there's not a better like super fan than the people who are like crazy for you and like slightly like off. So you kind of want to dog whistle to those people and say the terms and the things that they like. And then jokes are really good for engagement. This one joke here I had on my comments had almost 20,000 likes, but people like, jokes. So just joke as much as you can in your comments and you'll have crazy engagement. Okay. When it comes to reels, this goes without saying, post every single day. Every single day. What helps a lot with this is to go through your stories. So people will say to me, oh, but I don't have that many recorded stuff. Go to your archives right now and go to your stories. And you can even use this filter option, this content, remember this, where you can filter your content by followers. You can also do this for your stories, not just your reels. So go through your most highly performing stories and just download it or screen record it and repost it as a reel. You have content, just get it, right? And the key is to post every single day. And then your content pillars. Remember my content pillars here, identify them: POV style, talking head, B-roll. You want your content pillar to drive your posts. So one day you do POV, the other day you do talking head, and then you do POV, you do B-roll. The key is not to post 2 days in a row, right? This is going to somewhat drive your posting cadence so that you're not the person that constantly posts talking heads, right? Because then it gets boring. And just having that will give you that variety and that consistency. And then your saved folder, remember this? I like to do it by content type, like the categories, religion, philosophy, stitching, all that stuff. Have your folders organized in a way that is useful to you, right? By the content type. All right. Now, how do we read your insights? So when you go to a post, it will give you insights like this. Remember? It'll give you your likes, your shares, your comments, all this stuff. Collectively, this reel has been seen through a period of 3 years. That's insane, right? So let's use that insights in a way that is useful. Okay. So these are ratios, right? So this applies to no matter how viral or not your content is, you can somewhat tell where it stands, right? So saves to likes will tell you if it's entertaining or if it's useful for them, if the utility is there or not. Shares to saves, and then comments to likes. So let's use this with my content pillars. The POV hand guide type stuff, the voiceovers in your case maybe, this type of content does really well in terms of shares. You get an insane amount of shares proportionally, right? The shares are huge here. Why? Because the shares, this type of content shows, hey, friend, look at this interesting information. It kind of communicates or fills in like a knowledge gap. People want their friends to be on the in on something. They want to be like, informed, right? So this does really well for informing others. So the shares are really huge, but you'll notice the comments are not that big, okay? This, in the other case, the talking head type of content does really well with comments. The comments are huge on talking heads. Why? Because it's controversial stuff. I talk about Christian Zionism in this one. I talk about, language gaps with this one. I talk about the witchcraft scene here in Latin America here. And the proportionality of comments are outrageous here, okay? B-roll is really good for saves. Why? Because this is the type of, inspirational content. This is the type of content that makes up most of those vision boards. And so that is what you can expect here is a lot more saves, okay? Now, real quick, let's just look at this. The saves to likes. If it's around 30, it's useful, entertaining, right? Didn't get that many likes. Okay, so get someone of an idea here. This is more practical. If you get more shares than saves, it's like I told you, it shows like a social utility, right? But this one got more saves than shares. No one's really going to share like videos of me being a sad boy on the metro. That doesn't really do anything, but it's giving them content ideas. So that's why they save it more than they share it. This got more shares than saves, obviously, because it's like controversial. People want their friends to be in on stuff. And then if it is controversial, you'll notice that you will get, the comments to like ratio is going to be a bit higher. This is less than that because it's not that, it doesn't drive that many comments. But this one here has high controversy or POV, like relatability stuff. So they do share that more. Okay. That is the gist of it. But let me give you something practical. I'm going to give you this exact worksheet. Okay, so this content roadmap, this planner is going to be entirely yours. It's in the description of the video. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is the one I use for myself right now, right? Because I'm trying to grow my business page as well as my personal brand page. You are going to use that filter I showed you for only 1 million views videos or higher, right? And I have filters here, so you can filter it by most viewed, least viewed. You can also filter it by creator, okay? What you do is you take the URL of that reel or TikTok and you post it here. And then you post the platform that you found it on or the platform you'd like to post it on, right? Just click here. You can populate it however you want. You choose the creator. Now, this is my dream 10. These are the 10 creators I want to, emulate. So I populate them here. And then I put the hook here. You're going to build a hook database. So you no longer have to guess. This is the content angle because you don't want to repeat too much. If you do too many, value-driven things or educational type video, people are not going to be able to relate with you as much. So you want to be able to cycle through these and identify if you're repeating too much. And then this is the most helpful thing is the type of video. Is it a talking head, green screen, B-roll, podcast, street interview, whatever? You record that here. And then you put the views here because, again, I like to organize it by most viewed to least viewed. Focus on this top half here. And the likes aren't really that important, but if you want to see it, there it is. Okay. I'm going to give you a completely blank one so that you can use it yourself. The platform, the creators, you are going to input your top creators here. And then you put the hooks here. Just like we talked about, it's all here. And what's really cool is that I put in a conditional format like rule so that when you've done it, when you've posted it, it will strike through the entire row for you, right? That way you can clearly see what you've done and what you haven't, okay? Now, as a bonus, I'm giving you my entire hooks database. So these are numbers. After watching X videos on Y topic, they are only X whatever, right? You have authority-based ones, you have viral ones, stuff I found on LinkedIn. If you're trying to grow on X in like more written type format, these are pretty good. All these come from winning content, right? And it's just going to be yours. So this is going to be found in the description of the video here. And let's grow. I did 10K in back-to-back months, and it's this month, today. Literally today, this is what got me to 20K. So I know it works. And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing. I plan to do more videos like this. And consider sharing this with someone who could use it. There's nothing more helpful than being accountable, right? That evil eye stuff is for brokies. If you're scared of people knowing your goals, then you're going to be a brokey. You need to share your goals with people so that it can become a real tangible thing. So share this with people that will hold you accountable. Also be discerning who you'll share it with. If someone has power over you, don't share it, right? But you should share it. You have to share it. If you're just by yourself, solopreneurship is a myth. You cannot grow by yourself. You need people. But yeah, consider liking this video and sharing it with people who could use it. And thank you for letting me do work that I find meaningful. Take care and God bless.